A candle killed the Green Ranger. Not a monster, not a giant robot fight. A candle. Rita Repulsa figured out that she couldn't beat the most powerful ranger on the team in battle, so she didn't try. She lit a candle made of magic wax, and as it burned, it drained his power away, one flicker at a time. That's how Tommy lost the Green Ranger powers. But here's the thing nobody really stops to think about. That candle didn't just take his powers. It created the most famous Power Ranger who ever existed. Because everything that made Tommy a legend only happened because he lost. So today, let's put the candle out. What if Tommy stayed the Green Ranger? Let's get into it. To understand what we're about to undo, you have to understand what the Green Ranger meant. When Tommy showed up, Power Rangers changed overnight. He was the first evil Ranger, brainwashed by Rita to destroy the team. And for a stretch of episodes, he actually wrecked them. Then he broke free of her spell and joined the good guys. And the show was never the same. And before he was a hero, he was the scariest thing on the show. Think back to how he actually arrived. Rita finds this new kid, Tommy, and she doesn't just recruit him, she puts him under an evil spell and hands him the Sword of Darkness to keep him that way. And then she taunts him at the Rangers, and he wins. The Green Ranger walked into the command center, the one place that was supposed to be untouchable, and he tore it apart. He shut Zordon out. He took the team apart piece by piece, and for a run of episodes there was genuinely no answer for him. A kids show had a villain who was beating the heroes, and he looked cooler than all of them put together. That's why he mattered. He was dangerous before he was ever on your side. Then Jason destroys the Sword of Darkness, the spell breaks, and Tommy joins the team. And now, that firepower is pointed the right way. He was the first Sixth Ranger, the blueprint. Every extra Ranger that has ever shown up in this franchise, every gold and silver and crimson bonus warrior for the last 30 years, all of it traces back to Tommy. He had the dragon dagger, that little flute, and when he played that 6-note melody, the whole show stopped, because it meant the Dragon Zord was coming. That green Zord rising up out of the ocean with those glowing red eyes is one of the most iconic images this franchise ever put on screen. He had the shield, the dragon shield, that gold chestplate nobody else had. Kids lost their minds. Overnight, the Green Ranger wasn't just a character on the show, he was the show. But here's the catch, and it matters for everything that follows. Tommy's powers were never really safe, because Rita created them. She was the one who made the Green Ranger in the first place, which meant she always knew the way in. Every other Ranger got their power from Zordon, the good guy. Tommy got his from the villain, and a villain never gives you something without keeping a key to the back door, so Rita used it. Here's how the green candle actually worked, because it's darker than you remember. Rita creates a candle out of magic wax, and she ties it to Tommy. As the candle burns down, his powers drain away with it. Slowly, steadily. And when that candle melts all the way to nothing, it's not just that Tommy loses his powers. The power gets infused into the candle. Forever. She doesn't just beat the Green Ranger, she takes his power for herself. And the Rangers can't just walk over and snuff it out, because Rita hides the candle in the dark dimension, guarded by Goldar. There's one horrible rule. If Tommy himself touches the candle, it speeds everything up. It drains him faster. So the one person most desperate to save his own power is the one person who can't go near it. The Red Ranger. The leader. The only other guy who'd ever been inside the dark dimension. Alpha finds the doorway. Billy works out the way in, and Jason goes to get that candle and save his friend. And he fails. Not because he wasn't good enough. Goldar's waiting for him. Rita yanks the other Rangers away to deal with a monster attack, and the clock just runs out. The candle burns down to nothing, and Tommy loses his powers. All of them. The dragon dagger goes quiet. The Dragon Zord sinks back under the water and stops answering. And in his last moment, as the Green Ranger, Tommy does something that tells you exactly who he is. He knows Rita is about to be able to grab his power coin. So he takes it, and he gives it to Jason. Hands his power to his best friend so the villain can never have it. And then he walks away. No powers, no team, just a kid who used to be a superhero. That is one of the saddest things this show ever did to a character. And it really happened. That's canon. If you want to go back and watch it, it's a two-parter simply called The Green Candle. And then, the power's gone for good, a little later, in an episode with the perfect gut punch of a title, Green No More. And here's the detail that makes it hurt even more. The show actually gave you a little hope in between. After the candle, Zordon manages to recharge the green powers one last time, pouring his own energy in, just to give Tommy a bit longer in the suit. But it's a patch, not a fix. That green power was always leaking, because Rita built it that way, and this time there's no saving it. So you get to watch the Green Ranger come back for one short encore, knowing the whole time it can't last. And then, in Green No More, it's over for good. Now, let's light this differently. Let's say the candle never gets the chance. Jason reaches it in time, or Rita never lights it at all. Tommy keeps the Green Ranger powers. What happens to the whole show? The first thing, the big one, is that there is no White Ranger. Ever. And I need you to sit with how huge that is. Because the White Ranger is the most iconic Power Ranger design of all time. The white and gold suit. Saba, the talking sword. The white Tiger Zord. Tommy walking back onto that team not as the sixth man anymore, but as the new leader. None of it exists. Every bit of it. Every piece of merchandise. Every kid who dressed as the White Ranger for Halloween, all of it only happened because Tommy lost the green powers first. Keep him green, and the most famous Ranger in history is never born. Second thing, Jason stays the leader. In the real timeline, when Tommy comes back as the White Ranger, he takes over leadership of the team. The Red Ranger, the original leader, quietly steps back. But if Tommy never loses his powers, he never gets that upgrade, and that handoff never happens. Jason stays the guy in charge. The whole balance of the team is different. Two alpha personalities, both in green and red, neither one clearly on top. And it goes so much deeper than one season, because Tommy didn't stay the White Ranger either. That white power was the launch pad for everything. He goes from White Ranger to the Red Zeo Ranger, then the Red Turbo Ranger. Then years later, he comes back again as a Black Dino Thunder Ranger. Tommy Oliver became the guy this franchise reached for over and over for decades. The most decorated Ranger in the entire history of the show. 5 different Ranger forms across his career. And every bit of that legacy started the day he lost the green powers and Zordon built him something new. Keep him green, and Tommy is just the Green Ranger. A great one. But he never becomes the multicolored legend that Power Rangers was built around for the next 20 years. One candle didn't just cost him a suit. It's the reason he has a career at all. Third thing, and this one's subtle, but I love it. If Tommy stays green, the danger never really goes away. Think about why the White Ranger was such a big deal in the story. It was a power that Rita and later Lord Zed could not corrupt, because they didn't make it. It was Zordon's creation. Clean, untouchable. That's the whole point of it. But the green powers? Rita made those. She always has a way in. So a Tommy who stays green is a Tommy who is permanently vulnerable. Every season, the villains can keep reaching for that back door. He'd spend his entire run as the most powerful Ranger on the team, and the least safe one at the same time. And that's the trade this What If really comes down to. Because keeping Tommy green sounds like a gift. That green suit is the icon. The Dragon Zord is beautiful. Fans have loved the Green Ranger for 30 years. But it's a trap, too. Green Tommy never rises. He never gets the crown. He stays the vulnerable sixth man forever. The guy whose powers are always one candle away from being taken again. The White Ranger wasn't just a new costume. It was Tommy finally getting a power that was truly his, that no villain could steal. Give him back the green and you keep the icon. But you take away the one thing the character was really chasing. Security. A power nobody could ever take from him again. So which Tommy do you want? The Green Ranger who's forever the fan-favorite underdog, always in a little bit of danger? Or the White Ranger, who becomes the greatest and most powerful Ranger of all time? But only because he had to lose everything first. And here's what I think most people get wrong about this whole debate. When fans say they wish Tommy had stayed the Green Ranger, what they're really saying is they loved that green suit. And fair enough, it rules. But they're forgetting why the Green Ranger was so good in the first place. He was compelling because he was fragile. Because his power came from the villain. Because it kept failing. Because every time he morphed, you weren't totally sure it would hold. The Green Ranger was a tragedy in a costume. That's the whole appeal. A Green Ranger who keeps his powers forever, safe and stable and permanent, isn't the Green Ranger everybody fell in love with. You'd be keeping the look and throwing away the exact thing that made him special. The heartbreak wasn't a bug in the Green Ranger. The heartbreak was the entire point. And here's the part that makes all of this real, because it wasn't just a story choice. The reason the green candle happened in the first place is that they were writing Tommy out. The actor, Jason David Frank, was only signed for a limited run at the start. The candle was the exit door. That was supposed to be goodbye, but the fans wouldn't have it. The mail poured in. Kids would not let the Green Ranger go. And the show did something almost unheard of. They listened. They brought him back, rebuilt him as the White Ranger, and made him the leader of the entire franchise for years to come. Tommy became the face of Power Rangers, the character they'd bring back again and again for decades. And it happened because a generation of kids refused to say goodbye. If you want the full story of the man behind that mask, I've got a whole tribute to Jason David Frank on the channel, and I'll point you to it at the end. But think about what that means for our what if. If Tommy stays the Green Ranger, if the candle never wins, then the fans never have to save him. And the greatest comeback in Power Rangers history, the single biggest time the audience reached through the screen and rewrote the show, never happens. The candle didn't just take Tommy's powers. It set up the most beloved rescuer this franchise has ever seen. So that's the what if. Keep Tommy green, and you save the icon, but you lose the legend. No White Ranger, no Tommy as leader, no greatest comeback in the show's history. The candle that destroyed the Green Ranger is the exact same candle that created everything that came after. Now I want to hear from you, because this one is going to split people right down the middle. Green Ranger or White Ranger? Which Tommy is the real Tommy? Drop it in the comments. I read every one of them, and I already know this is going to get heated. And before you go, 3 quick things. First, don't click away yet, because I've got that Jason David Frank tribute sitting right there on screen for you. Go watch it next. Second, if you enjoyed this, hit the hype button under the video. It's free, and it genuinely helps this channel reach more people who grew up on this stuff. And third, if you want more what-ifs and real stories like this one, subscribe and stick around. Rita couldn't beat the Green Ranger in a fight, so she used a candle. And in trying to erase Tommy, she accidentally created the most famous Power Ranger who ever lived. Funny how that works.